everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Aftermath. My name is Ian, and that was Ethan. That
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it's me.
I almost got Dylan as well, you know.
Feels like it.
That's just the same old, same old.
Where?
You
Where?
know.
What's up?
You know,
I got the coolest hands in the South.
So we're going to be reviewing, I guess we're just going to jump right into it, huh?
I mean, I have the coolest hands in the South. I don't know what you're talking
I was going to
about.
talk to you for a second about how your days have been going, but I guess you just want to go.
Nah, man, cool hands.
I'm going to date this podcast. There's a bunch of hurricanes hitting the South, and I'm just going to still working harder, hardly working, LMAO.
Yeah.
That's pretty much.
Hands aren't going to be so cool after this.
We've already
Well,
talked
maybe they'll
about,
be even cooler.
we've talked about this before, but we live in Louisiana, and currently it's not actually happening, but at one point in time, there was projected to be 2 hurricanes hitting us at the exact same time.
Prepare for trouble and make it double, as they say.
Yep. So that was interesting for a hot minute.
Now
I
it's
was
just
like,
one, but
Fucking
as
super
happens,
combined into one category 4.
yeah.
but as happens literally every single time, they're like gonna landfall as a Cat 5, gonna landfall as a Cat 4. I'm like, great. All I'm thinking of is like freaking gonna landfall as a Cat 9 cable. Don't care. right? Oh, it's gonna landfall with 175 mile per hour winds. It landfalls as a Category 1, and it's like, it's breezy outside. I think, and I literally sit in like a recliner on my porch, and I'm like, it's raining now, right? In the wind, because I don't care, right? It never lands. I want to watch this one landfall as something real and actually be a hurricane, but every time it's just like a cool storm, and I'm like, neat, bro, hurricane party. That's it.
Just to tell you, like this coming Friday when it's supposed to hit, I think it's supposed to be a tropical storm, so it's not even like a hurricane anymore. I don't think.
I literally get emails from like the governor and stuff today, even, and they're like, storms are picking up, guys. Here's what we're gonna do. If the winds get above 50 miles per hour, we can't drive the ambulances 'cause it's a flip risk.
Of course.
And they're like, be sure to keep your bay doors open in case something happens. And I'm like,
wait, excuse me?
Yeah, bay doors open because if the power goes out, we can't open the bay doors and we're stuck.
Oh, I see.
Or
something
like that. I don't know, man.
We
got a call. We were out there, and someone was like, "Yeah, the storm's picking up, guys. Make sure that the bay doors are open and you got sheets." And I was like, "Well, first off, yes, I'm doing fine out here in the rain. Thank you very much.
Thanks for asking."
I said, second, I know that you're in your office, so you had to pay attention to the storm picking up, but I'm actually like driving right now in the rain.
Yeah.
Yep, it's. I'm telling you right now, it's picking up." Like I don't know. So
it's wetter than usual out here.
Yeah, it's awful windy out here. I only got pushed around like once or twice on the road, so like it wasn't even that bad. And it's projected to keep being bad, and I'm like, whatever, man. I hope it picks up a little bit. That way I can say I work.
Can I tell you?
Neat, but I mean,
one of my coworkers opened the window to talk to a customer, and a gust of wind.
Yeah,
with a lot of, because it was raining.
No small amount of rain.
It was raining at like 3 or 4 p.m. like that today.
Yeah, it rained vertically.
When I tell you, it looked like that goon went on freaking Splash Mountain. That he opened the window and it just went whoosh, and like it went all across the ground. And he turned around, he went, "Oh my god, dude!" And he was like a wet dog. And I was like, "Go to the back and clean yourself up, man."
Yeah. Should have expected the splash zone.
There was we left the station and it was kind of sprinkling, and I was like, "Oh man, I should have got my raincoat." Oof. And Ryan was like, "You're gonna learn these lessons the hard way, new kid." Like, well, he was like, "Yeah, you're gonna learn these lessons the hard way because it's raining now. Good luck." He's like, "We could get you a yellow sheet. You could poke a hole in it and wear it like it was a poncho." And he was like, "No, because then your head's gonna get wet. That's inefficient. We can give you a couple of tourniquets and you can just start tying them around like your neck and shoulders and stuff, and wear it like it's a raincoat." And I was like, "Thank you." He was like, "Yeah," and then if something happens, we won't have the yellow sheet anymore, but whatever. So but every time I got the ambulance, it would just not be really raining anymore. So I didn't actually even get that wet, but I kept forgetting my jacket. Like I never got back to the station to pick it up, and I was like, "Oh, whatever."
You tempted fate, and then it decided to go easy on you.
Yeah, but because every time on the way to like the scene, it would just be like, whoosh, 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 like just like soaking. I can't see anything out the windshield, and then I would get to the scene, and it would just be like sprinkle, sprinkle, and I'm like, hell yeah, thanks God.
Great.
Yeah. So.
What about you, Dylan? What you up to?
Work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Applied for a job today.
Oh, where at?
Post office.
Uh-oh.
But hey, $16.55 an hour maybe.
Nice. It's good money.
I mean, hey. We'll see how that goes. Especially during the holiday season.
If it goes.
Yeah, if it goes. That's crazy.
It ain't much, but it's honest work.
Yeah.
Honest coin for honest work, as they say in Skyrim. But
So We are going to be talking about a movie that I have never heard about.
Literally never, which is pretty much, by the way, most of the movies on the list. I'm just like, oh, I never even heard of it. Yeah,
It's the whole premise of the show.
I know. Well, no, I haven't seen them before.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing. The whole premise of the show is all the list that we had in high school where you were like, you need to see Alien. I knew about Alien. I just never seen it. Right?
Yeah.
In fact, the only thing I've heard about Alien is that I had a few people tell me that Aliens they thought was better. That's it. The only thing that I know about it is that people thought the second one was better. And that's at least people in my friend groups have. So,
fair.
yeah, and so I'm like, okay, cool. I wasn't the biggest fan of the first one, so we'll see. Maybe the second one will be cooler, and if it's not, at least it'll be a cool watch, because it's not like I hated the first one. And so but there are a few movies on this list that I've not only not, like, seen or not even really heard of, but, like, I literally, you started the movie, and I was like, I literally... Like I may as well have just been cruising a TV channels, found this, and for whatever reason just stopped on this. I literally don't even know what's going on.
So, anyways,
it was amazing. By the way, that's the best way to get into any movie ever.
Yeah, with this, like he was saying before, there's a long list of movies that I've heard of, never seen. This is one that I've never heard of, I knew nothing about. So going into this movie, he and I were both very, very blind. How did you hear about it?
Cool Hands Luke.
I was watching TV one day, surfing through the channels, and me and my dad decided to watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine that for people that are more like our parents' age or something, it was even still probably not like a new movie when they were young, but it was still more in their time.
Yeah.
So it is neat that maybe that would have happened. That makes sense, right?
So this is a movie.
It's worth mentioning as well that after seeing the movie, I was like, I need to know. I want to like get more information about like kind of what's going on, because I was still not knowing anything about this made it that I wanted to look some stuff up. And this is the only movie I've ever seen that had a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which was very interesting.
Anyways, so this movie, like I say, like he said before, is called Cool Hands Luke, and it is a movie that is apparently based in the 50s.
Yes, based in the 50s, but filmed in the 1960s.
Got it. Okay, yeah. And it is about
It was based on a book that was based in the 50s.
Yeah.
That's what the movie. Movie's based on book. Book is set in the 50s.
Book was written in 63, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know that the book was written in the 60s.
Interesting.
But the movie was based on the book that was.
It's basically just about a good old boy. Not really. You know,
I would say not. It starts off with him not being that.
Yeah, he has a troubled family, and he does some dumb stuff, gets in jail, and then of course it's kind of his antics to try and
he becomes
part
the
of the team.
Hands in the South. Yeah.
It's a comeuppance story, kind of in jail.
Yeah. I freaking loved it though. Like I really enjoyed the movie, and for like a lot of reasons. But the best thing I can describe is like the first like maybe half of the movie. I'm kind of like, I didn't have any notes. I don't have anything that like stuck out. All I can tell you is that like I was enchanted. I was just like I wanted. If I just was coming across this on the TV, I would have stayed and watched the movie, and I couldn't even tell you why. Like I was just like it, and I was like I don't remember. I didn't make any notes. I don't have anything that like sticks out. I just was really enjoying how interesting everything was, and like, oh, this guy's in prison now.
It's
neat. This is like it was just interesting.
I didn't. The first half of the movie didn't know what was going on. I didn't know who I was rooting for. I didn't know I didn't know where we were going. I was like, I understood what was happening, but I was like, usually there's like a story arc that I think guides you somewhere or kind of understands what's going on. But there's like a large portion of this movie that's kind of like you're just there.
Yep.
There's nothing kind of holding your hand. There's nothing guiding you anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just rules and you're stuck there, which is cool because again, that's the whole point of the movie.
Guy got bored, got drunk.
Yep.
Decided to go to jail.
Yeah. And now it's kind of his. And it's also like you can really see how different the times are. Like what goes into being in prison at that point in time.
Yeah.
It was very strange, like how it just felt weird because I was like, it's so, I feel so far removed from that point in time that it's like, it's just.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely old.
Like,
yeah.
Definitely. A couple of racial slurs.
It was definitely set in a time long since past. Like just, that's the easiest way of putting it.
Yeah.
Like it was set in a time that is just
very different.
Hard to think about, generally speaking.
Because it's so.
I don't believe if there were any slurs in that movie.
No. There wasn't any slurs, but it was definitely there was some comments.
Oh,
made,
there were
and I was
definitely
like,
racist comments made though.
Yeah, there was like but
Yeah, so
it was like I said, I overall
Just so it doesn't turn anyone off of the movie. It's a great movie.
yeah, no, it's still a good movie, but it's again it's set in a time that long since passed. That's the best way to describe it.
I liked it. I enjoyed it overall, but I think I didn't really. The guy, Cool Hand Luke, his character was charming from the get go. So it's kind of like it's hard not to like this guy.
I think that he was well designed.
I loved the back and forth between what is his name, Dragline, which is kind of he's like you can already tell he's like the big head honcho of the team.
Mm-hmm.
He's like from the first scene you see him in, he's already kind of like calling some shots. And he kind of walks in there and is like, yeah, dude, I don't care. And he's like, whoa, wait, what?
You don't care? You go learn to care.
Yeah, you go learn to care.
He never cared. He just had the coolest hands in the South.
But then but after that, like
beat him over the head with him.
Once you get like through that, like the kind of like I guess like the setup of the movie of like what's going on and like why you should care for this guy.
Yeah.
And it kind of really solidifies why you should care for him and why he is Cool Hands Luke. Then I was like, I see why they probably took so much time. Why I didn't understand what was going on until now.
Yeah.
Because now it's like now he's trying to,
It's kind of the long con, I think. But
yeah.
I think that first off, Dylan, describe the movie in 3 words. You can't use Cool Hand Luke. I'm really excited to see this one.
Fuck Hands McMike.
I guess it counts. All right.
Oh, man.
Even though I'll count.
I was going to say smile in communication.
One word.
Hands.
Good.
Nice.
Good. Great. All right, so who's your favorite character? This is probably one of the easiest times I've had a favorite character because I thought this character was hilarious.
I love Dragline.
Yeah.
My favorite.
He's the best.
Really? I think that's what I was thinking too.
He's the real
Draglines. Nothing about him being cool, just his funny lines sold me on it.
He's such a southern Georgia boy.
Oh yeah. He can't read.
No,
so he keeps getting Coco to read. The only characters I know are Dragline and Luke, and then there's one guy who can read and his name's Coco. That's it.
Yeah. They're like he is the real Samwise Gamgee of this movie. Not at the beginning, but like after all that, like after he goes through a whole lot, he becomes like the real best friend character for Cool Hands Luke. And he's like, they go from like being kind of enemies to being like, I respect you, to being like,
I like the arc,
he's
the
like,
story arc. Where
he's like lifting him up. He's like, this guy's so cool. Like Cool Hands Luke is like the guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, everyone quit loving me so much. And you're like, but
I like that like they didn't like each other and they got in a fight. And he was he just like kept coming back up. And you could really see the moment where Drag was like, Luke earned Drag's respect because he was like, he kept on fighting. And eventually he was like, all right, I'm just going to walk inside now. And he was like, you're going to have to kill me. And then, of course, the next thing they do is they go in to play the poker game. And he has a cool hand. So he earns his title Cool Hand Luke because he has literally a handful of nothing. And he bluffs his way into getting all the money.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how that one goes. So everyone thought he was cool after that as well. And Drag already respected him.
Yeah.
And then there's the fact that he never once cared about the rules or the authority and just disrespected everybody. And he was like, man, whatever. And everyone's like, Luke just don't care. And Luke was like, I just don't care. And I think that like the respect kind of, even though it was a quick arc of like them not liking each other and then Drag respecting him, even though it was quick, it still felt really authentic and it was cool. Yeah. I really enjoyed that.
If we can progress kind of towards like he tries to escape prison
3 times total.
Yeah, 3 times total. The first time's kind of, quick, kind of happens with the like, but whenever he leaves with Dragline, and that whole scene where
you skipped way far. Yeah.
Well, then what else you want to talk about?
Well, I know we were going. I was gonna go over the first time.
Then bridge my gap. That's the next thing I want to talk about.
Okay.
I'd like to. I think my favorite scene out of the entire movie is when they have to tar the road.
Really, that was a fun scene.
And Luke just starts like going at it.
I just like that he was always going at it, and Drag was like, Luke, we got a whole road to do. You gotta calm down to keep your energy. And he was like, the way I see it, dude wants a road fast. I'll give him a freaking road fast. Yep. And then they just all speed up. I was like, I like that. That's a creative way. And of course, they managed to do a multi-day work road with 3 hours to spare in one day. So like they did it really quickly, and everyone was like, well, now what do we do? And even the security guards couldn't think of something to do, so they just sat around for 3 hours. I really did like that was a cool scene a lot. As usual, I have some things I wrote down. One of my favorite lines from Drag was they were asking each other how they got in, and Drag was like, well, I steal and I lie, but I love my neighbor and his wife. And I was like, I see why you're in here then.
Right.
But then his first time attempting to run away.
It was after he'd
yeah.
received a letter about his mom dying.
So what happened was in the movie, his mom comes to visit him.
I have a question about that. I was a little confused. So of course, there's this thing called the box, and it sounds like actual hell. Yeah. It's solitary confinement, basically. They give you a poop and a piss bucket. I think that's what it is. And then they just kind of leave you in a...
I thought one was a bathroom and one had like water in it or something.
Nah. And then, of course, they just kind of like leave you in this very, very tight space with no clothes on but a robe, and they just kind of leave you there. But this is where I got kind of confused. I didn't see him try to leave. So his mom passes away, which in the earlier part of the movie, you get to see that she's not doing very well, and she says that she's not going to make it very well. At this point in the movie, whenever we see that he gets the letter and his mom has passed away, the next few scenes, he didn't try to escape. It seemed like...
No, that's because the captain guy is just an evil jerk.
That's what I was saying.
And so what it is
I heard him say that. It's like, you get rabbit in your blood and you're going to try and run. So I'm going to put you in the box instead. And I was like, that's messed up.
Because he's just messed up. He's an evil character.
I know. I'm not saying I didn't understand that. But what I was saying was, I just making sure I wasn't forgetting something in the fact that he somehow snuck out one time. Because I was like, he just got put in the box all of a sudden. I was like, is he just being...
time in the box.
Just got thrown in there.
And then...
Yeah, and that's what I thought, because afterwards, the guard's like, she's in the ground, best not worry about it. And I was like, that's not how that works, bud.
Nope. Can't do
Still,
it.
Idiot. Yeah, so his first escape attempt...
was after that, I know, yeah.
His first escape attempt, like I was trying to say, his mom came to visit him, and she was sick, and she's clearly terminal. So she came to visit him, and
it could be the cold for all we know.
And
at that point in time,
and they chat for a bit or whatever, and they decide to, she has to go because he has to go back inside. So later on, he finds out that she's dead through a letter.
Yeah,
and that's whenever he decides to create his escape attempt. After, of course, he was put in the box.
Oh yeah,
which is a literal punishment because they thought he was going to run away. So at this point, he had it good and he was fine. You can see it, but once they do that, he was like, so not only did my mom die, but now I'm not even allowed to do what I'm cool with doing, which is just working. So he's punished for his own mom dying, right? Yeah. At this point, that you can clearly see that he's like, these people are evil and I'm leaving. So then he leaves. He gets pretty far. I'm actually kind of surprised he got caught. It's one of those things where, like, I don't feel like he actually legitimately would have gotten caught here. Like, if this wasn't a movie, I feel like he might have gotten away. At least with one of the 3 attempts, right?
Yeah.
But still, whatever. It makes sense, I guess. The dogs or something. So he runs away and gets caught. And, of course, we get the age-old line. What we have here is a failure to communicate, right? Mm-hmm. Where he gets caught and they put, like, these ankle irons on you and they just stay on you now, basically. So you're like, you can't run away, right? So, and the rule is it's like a 3 strikes and you're out thing, apparently. You get caught once, you get a pair. And the whole movie, you keep seeing people that have these ankle chains on, right? But it never explained it to me, so I keep wondering, why do some people have these and some don't? I've been wondering that, like, the whole movie. So whenever I finally get to the age-old scene where we have a failure to communicate, it made sense. I really liked that. That was cool. So he doesn't escape, gets back to it. He acts... all good about it and all that. And of course, you see people being more and more evil now that he ran away. All the guards are more rude and all that stuff. And it gets kind of sad because everyone's treating him bad. And eventually,
scene where they break him, the whole, like, he's basically digging his own grave sort of situation.
Yeah. I like it because...
That hurt me.
I like it because as much as you, like, you felt like he was broken, you could see, like, the very next day, he was like, it was all fake, I'm leaving. I was like, I love how I was like, did he just fake being that broken?
No.
Did he really have... Like, the next day, he was like, still getting out of here.
But he even said, again, towards the scene that I was talking about at the end, when, of course, Dragline makes a comment about that. He's like, man, you're playing the long game. Oh, please, sir, I'll do good or whatever. And he's like, nah, man, I wasn't playing. They broke me. It was hard. Like that's you don't play around with that. And I was like, ooh, frick, that hits.
Yeah,
because you could see in his character there's a point where like, again, some context. There's basically where, one of the higher up guys, they call him boss, which are all just basically like the handlers, security guards, whatever, walks up and is like, "This is your dirt right here. Why is your dirt in the captain's spot or whatever?"
in the captain's ditch. Yeah,
And it's just in the captain's ditch. Yeah, but it's just a plot of land, and you're like, "What the hell?" And you're like, "Oh, they want him just to dig a ditch or whatever."
Yeah, and this one, what happens is he was in the box. And he didn't like get any like good rest, right? And he went right back to work. So then Drag's like, "Yeah, good news though. You get a whole day and a half to rest and get over it for a bit." And that's whenever the guy's like, "This is your dirt here, right? Isn't it?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "What's your dirt doing in the boss's ditch?" They make him dig a hole, make him dig a ditch, and then
a different security guard comes up.
Is like, "Yeah, why is your dirt on my yard?" And he's like, you can see him just shrugging to, I don't know. I don't know, man. Yeah. And he's like, "We'll put it back." So he puts it back, and then they make him basically keep digging this, and then he never.
They do
gets
it like
to sleep.
they do each one twice, I think. So, but it basically ends with him standing in this ditch, and of course, the first guy I was talking about, he's got like a hat or whatever. He walks up and he's like, he says something about it or whatever, and he basically just collapses, and he's like, "I don't know, I'll act right." But just the acting in the moment with the lead character, you get to see him, and man, it feels real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He hits this emotional moment where he breaks down, and you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
It hits different. Because at this point in the movie, you also like really care about this character in some degree. You're like, man, he's just been through a rough time.
Needs a break.
He needs a break, is what it seems like. And then now you get to see him like literally slave labor is what it looks like, just torture. And to watch him kind of fall down this literal like grave and just lying down crying, just being like,
just don't hit me.
I'm right. Yeah, just don't hit me. I'm good. I got it. Okay.
Yeah. So after that, he does get to sleep or whatever.
Starts acting right.
Yeah.
And then like
plays,
the very next
plays the goody two
day,
shoes at that point.
Mm-hmm.
The very next work day, he doesn't stop like messing with people pretty much. Like it does play like the goody two shoes, and then like the very next work day they're like, "Get the rifle." So he gets the rifle, they shoot something, they're like, "Go put that in the truck." He goes to put it in the truck, and he's taking the keys out of all the trucks and then just drives the truck off. And I was like, this dude just never gives up, right?
Yeah.
So he drives the truck, and then Dragline hops on the truck too, so they both just leave.
Yeah.
And Drag was like, "You had such a good opportunity. I only had a couple years left until I was gonna leave, but I couldn't pass it up, right?" And then at this point, I'm realizing like this movie has very like spiritual undertones. Like I was realizing, and of course you see a lot of them because of how much God's mentioned and the time. But I'm talking about like when you look at the like reference between Luke and literally Jesus Christ. And I was weirded out by it because I was like, but he's like a criminal and he's like a cool guy. Doesn't seem to fit, but it fits so well considering like all sorts of stuff. And then one of my like favorite lines in the movie, just because it like, I feel like, I don't know, it's a real line. I'm just going to read it. It's whenever this is his third escape now. He knows what's happening. He's in the church.
Yes, you're even further past what I was saying.
He walks in the church and he's like, "What's up, big guy?" upstairs, right? And he says, at some point, he says, "Listen, I know I ain't got no call to ask for much, but even still, you ain't dealt me no cards in a long time." Probably my favorite line ever, where he's like, "Look, I know I ain't got to ask for much, but even still, you can't deny that. Like you haven't given me anything in a long time, and you can't deny that." It's a very like accusatory statement, but also like true. And it's like it felt really, like I said, really real and like had a lot of like biblical undertones that like in other things that were going on. I loved that line and just that whole area of the movie.
So this is what I was gonna talk about before I got a little ahead of myself. Apparently, was there's a point when after Dragline hops on the truck with him, they're like booking it. They like hide the truck and they're sitting there. And that was what I was saying a little bit before when he was talking about how, "Oh, you were just playing it up or whatever." And he's like, "Nah, dude, it messed me up. I was changed for a hot minute." I just, had this moment where I forgot what he said in that moment, where he was like, I just found the opportunity, had to go. But then, like, whenever the part that broke my heart was, like, again, you get to see both of these characters kind of progress, and you get to see them become really good characters, really good friends together. There was a moment where Dragline, they're sitting in the woods, and I didn't write it down. I don't remember it verbatim.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys can help me out with this. And it's also been a little bit since we watched the movie, but there's a moment where
Are you talking about whenever
Luke-
Drag's like,
Luke just wants to go his own way.
yeah, they want to go
And-
separate ways. Yeah.
And Drag's sitting here like, we can be the best guys around, or we can whatever. And he has all these hopes, and you can see him kind of like be uplifted. And I think that's where he makes the comment, like Ethan was talking about, that I only had a few years left, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity to do this, like, and Luke's not really into that sort of thing. He's like, I'm gonna go do my own thing or whatever.
Yep.
We'll split up. And then it's that moment where, like, Drag's like, yeah, man, yeah, it'd be better if we split up anyways, like, and it's just one of those kind of awkward moments, but it's like, it felt so heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
This guy's like, at this point, he looks up to Luke in some way.
Mm-hmm.
He has this kind of friendship with him, and Luke just wants to do his own thing and kind of be his own man or whatever.
Move past all
Move
this.
past
He
all
cle-
that
He clearly
stuff.
doesn't want to deal with that anymore.
And Drag's like,
I don't know what to do.
yeah. And he sits there, and of course, as like Luke's walking away, he's like, yeah, like he says a few. I can't remember what the lines were, and I hate that I can't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a few things that he says in that moment where the camera is just fixed on him in the forest, and it's dark, and the actor just has this look of just like sadness, and
Yeah.
like he just lost a friend. It would have felt like, and it was like, oh man, that's what hit me. I was like, oh dude, I felt so bad. And then of
Yeah.
course that's when he gets into the chapel, and
yeah.
this is
Starts
where
conversing with the Lord.
this is where the movie takes a turn that I was not expecting. Like, not only are we interested in the characters, are we kind of rooting for what's going on, we're also, you can tell we're like wrapping up. We've been in this movie for a hot minute at this point.
Up until like his last like escape attempt, you never felt like the movie was going to end.
Yeah, it just kind
It
of kept
never
going.
felt like it did.
Yeah.
And
He
whenever
kept
he
getting
gets
caught, kept getting
whenever he has his
beat.
third attempt, like at least me personally, whenever he made his third attempt, I was like, well, he either gets out of this one alive or he dies. Because it doesn't matter what they tried to convince you, like, that they said one more attempt and he gets shot.
Yeah.
It's just,
We're gonna kill you. They
So-
said that on his second attempt.
yeah. Well, I mean, and that was already a thing. They said that on his first attempt. They were like, you get another attempt and we'll do something, but eventually we're just gonna shoot you. So on his first attempt, they said they'd shoot him. Eventually, right? So we knew that eventually he'd get shot by this.
Works like baseball.
So-
You got 3 strikes.
Exactly, and that's what I like. So he, whenever they're like, "Oh, you can come back peacefully," and he's like, "I know I wouldn't." And again, he does
Oh.
the very Luke
hold on.
thing.
Before you said it, though,
okay, all right.
again, talk
What?
about Drag though. When he was, again, like I said, I care for this character obviously.
No, I do.
He-
Drag was my favorite character.
I know. Whenever he walks in, he's like, "Hey, man," you could tell he hasn't left. He hasn't left. You could tell that even though in that moment where they went their separate ways, Drag probably still didn't leave, or I think he said I ran, but they still caught up to me. And then, of course, obviously, Drag brought them all back here to this chapel in the middle of nowhere. And then he was like, "They're honest men. You come back."
Which they're not. They never have.
No.
been,
It's
but-
like, he's like, you can get another chance. It's okay. Like, we
But
can.
At this point, he either doesn't know or just doesn't care. He just wants Luke back.
Of course. Yeah, exactly. And at that point, he's just
trying to make things work. That's the thing. He's trying to make things work with his friend.
Yeah.
He's already been caught.
Yeah.
He's trying to do damage control, and
Yeah.
you can see it. That he's like, they're honest people. We all know damn well they're not honest people.
Yeah.
Right?
Especially
And
in
he's
this one
like-
movie.
Come peacefully, you
And
know.
he's like, if you come peacefully, I made him, and he's like, and now it's like as well. He's like, don't worry, like I got weight. So he's like, I managed to convince him that if you come peacefully, that they won't even do nothing to you. They won't even make you dig again. They'll just go. You can come back, and he was like, and of course Luke's like, and I suppose they'll let us take our same books, and he said probably, and it was like, Drag, you really think that this is true? But Luke's like, no, he knows.
Yeah.
So then he said his line when he opens the window, and again, in famous last words, the most Luke thing ever. He opens the window and says, "Well, what we have here is a failure to communicate," and is immediately shot in the throat.
Yeah.
probably the coolest line and ending to a movie just ever. Like, I love that. And again, I know I'm giving myself a reputation here because all the movies that I've loved the most have not had happy endings. Like, all my favorite movies have had endings where someone dies.
I love how you're
or
like,
something.
I don't like movies, but then we are slowly finding out as you watch more movies, you have a very specific niche you like.
Yes, because
you like
in
sad endings.
That specific niche is not having every other cliche that I hate. So it's like all these different, like, if it's anything
but that
new,
in itself is I think some kind of cliche. It's like lead actor dies at the end of a movie. So
sure, call it that, but at least it's not the normal cliche where everything's a happy ending. Boring. So that's why I like these different endings. So I'm like, I know that I'm giving myself a reputation here because my favorite movies have all been different in ways, but also have had sad endings. But it was perfect. And then I also like, Drag immediately comes out and tries choking out glasses, right? And I was like,
he succeeds.
Oh, he didn't kill him, though.
Oh, no, he didn't kill him, but like that guy, there was definitely a point where I was like, this is going on long enough. I was like, he's going to kill him.
Yeah. Absolutely destroys the cool, calm demeanor that motherfucker has throughout the entire movie.
Yeah. Put him in his place. That's what it felt like. I was like, dang.
The whole time I was
you
like,
don't know what the fuck you did.
Yeah.
The whole time I was like, man, we don't have the time for him to choke him out, but I'm just saying, you could snap his little neck, dude. You know you could. I was like, we don't have. You haven't bought enough time to choke him out. They'll shoot you, but you can snap his neck. You totally could. You can make this work. So, yep. It has a couple other things. Again, there's like a couple more biblical tones toward the end that I was like, this is very interesting. But another really good detail is you see Drag again. They're talking about the way Luke died and how he he died as a badass. Mm-hmm. They're all talking about him. And then Drag,
with the smile.
You can see, he was still having that smile on his face.
Yeah.
But you can also see now Drag has the ankle bracelets too because he tried running, and I was like, that's also good details. I like that.
Called good continuity.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. It was good. But overall, yeah, I thought it was a
good damn movie.
That was a really good movie. Yeah,
it was good. It progressed in a way I was not expecting it to.
It did. I don't know if it really did as much new things as I've been enjoying in movies, but it definitely did some things differently. And just the way I think it told its story, it just felt different. It didn't explain anything, so it felt confusing, but also you felt like you didn't want it to explain anything. Yeah. Like they just kept dropping
all the pieces for you to put together.
Exactly. It's like they kept dropping these ankle chains that people had on, and you're like, I was questioning, like, oh man, I want to know, but I just know it's going to be explained later. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, it leaves all these things there, and I like the way of storytelling was different, and it didn't feel like...
I'm trying to think of all the movies that I've probably seen that are like before the 70s. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I know I've seen, stuff like Wizard of Oz and other like Casablanca and stuff like that. I've seen those kind of
could
movies.
Tell you right now, promptly zero. For me.
Yeah.
I can't think of one movie.
So I'm trying to think of ones besides those that I've seen that like, they kind of fit that mold or whatever. But like even then,
if you want to reach like real far, you could count the original Godzilla.
Yeah. But even I think the narrative there is still different, obviously, for a monster movie.
And also I haven't seen
and also for a Japanese film too, it's different. But it's just I haven't seen a lot of movies that I think before that, so it's like it's interesting to see the time frame too, because obviously it was filmed probably like we said in the 60s, 67, but it definitely has all of the stuff to make it feel like it's in the 50s, because again it was like 10
ahead of its time,
10-15 years after that. So it's like it's just like us, like we can easily make a movie that looks like it's in the 2000s or whatever, obviously, but it's just it's crazy. It was interesting.
Yeah, that was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. I liked the kind of amusing comedic aspects that were constantly laced in the movie.
My gosh. Yeah.
And
the southern accents.
Yeah, of course. That's
Georgia good boys.
Yeah, a bunch of southerners saying their southern things.
They said a few things and I was like, boy, I ain't heard that phrase in a long time.
Right. They said a few things that I was like, perhaps there are people from other places that would not be able to understand the movie that well. No. And I'm just sitting here like, yee.
So I'm like my grandpa.
Right, yeah, exactly. I'm like, I understand this movie because I have 3 friends that talk like this.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah.
I enjoyed it, though. I thought it was a good movie.
What you guys
know what I was getting myself into, but...
What you guys want to...
Under all the twang and the droll.
The droll.
That
Lies
didn't
a
even scare me. It's
masterpiece.
just when a movie's starting and I just don't know what's going on, and I'm like, what did we even pick? I don't even.
We didn't
I
even.
couldn't-
We didn't
the,
even.
just
the
a random
name,
pick.
the
I was gonna
name
say-
of the movie makes no sense to me. I was like, why
Yeah.
does Luke have cool hands? Who is
Not only
Luke?
that, just to preface what you're talking about, we didn't even talk about this to begin with, but I guess it's apt that we're talking about the beginning of the movie at the end. But we start the movie by him busting off heads.
And him
of-
drunkenly playing
of
with
him
municipal
drunkenly-
property.
He's like he's busting off heads of parking meters.
He's sticking it to the
He's-
man is what he's doing.
yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah.
But he's drunk and doing it late at night and kind of like moseying around. He's not doing it like like, oh, I gotta break it. and
Yeah, he ain't
leave.
being a hoodlum about it. He's trying to get
Yeah,
caught.
yeah.
He stopped caring. He is cutting off those heads of the parking mirrors like a man who's lost a will. like he's like, yeah, take me to jail. I dare you.
I don't,
I don't
care.
care.
And then of course, whenever
Watch
they catch
what
him, what does he
happens.
do? He gives him that good old Luke smile.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I love the montage of all the grins throughout the movie.
The smiled
Yeah,
montage.
yeah. The
at least a
smile
bunch of his
montage.
smiles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. I like that.
Mhm.
Nice little in memoriam sort of thing.
And
So,
what are we watching?
That's what I was gonna say. What are we watching next, boys?
Let's see. Well, since you
Mm.
brought it up, Sean, how about Aliens?
I don't know.
Plural.
It's a good movie.
I mean, we just watched Alien. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for attempting to watch
could
the
do it.
next one.
I don't see
Yeah.
why not.
Yeah, I would say, based off of your comment before, it's probably more memorable for me.
They.
Well, I need us to not talk about it.
No.
Right, right.
because and my whole
That's the only thing I want to say.
the
That
whole
was it.
the whole preface of this series that I've said so far is I hate going into
Shut up.
No,
Yeah.
I hate going to movies with anything in my mind about it. I hate
Yeah.
it. I'm the weird guy who went for all of the Star Wars movies went the entire time without watching any of the trailers and still haven't
Yeah.
to this day.
Of course.
Which is good because apparently half the trailers for all these movies were completely false and like had stuff
Yeah.
that was not in the
Yeah.
movies, which is
Yeah.
very funny. But
I still kind of want to see Indiana Jones because I've never seen that before.
so I
Still need
think
to
I've
get my hands
seen
on
most,
Indiana
if
Jones.
not all of those actually. I don't
Really?
I don't know which ones, and it's been quite some time.
And
like
then
quite some
You'll
time.
remember.
If we're
But
talking about
I don't know which ones I've
Harrison
seen.
Ford movies, I kind of want to see the original Blade Runner too. Also, I've heard that's a really good movie I should watch.
I've got that one, and it's many decades prior or post sequel.
Oh yeah, what is it? 2047 or something?
2049, I think.
49. I forgot the numbers.
Those literally those two movies are just names to me.
Blade
like
Runner?
I've heard of Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2319 or whatever.
2319.
It's Monsters Incorporated.
Yeah.
I've heard of all these Blade Runner 2319. I've heard them. I have, but couldn't tell you anything about them.
Keep it
couldn't-
that way.
I couldn't tell you
Yeah.
anything about even the people that have seen them as to whether or not they liked or disliked the movie. Just like I've heard the name Blade Runner as a movie, and
That's
it.
Perfect.
I have a complete neutral point.
Good.
So as
We'll
with most
fix that
movies,
soon.
but that's
What's another one we can add to the list? 'Cause so far those are nice ones.
we are on the list. At least for me, high up on my list is I want to watch all the Back to Future movies.
Yes. Okay.
I really want it. That's like probably even though because I have seen them before and I think Ian's gonna really love them. That's high up on my list because those are currently, well, maybe not as much currently because like The Breakfast Club was really good.
Oh, such a good movie.
And this
Yes.
one was very good. And I also really like Good Morning Vietnam. So my list is changing now, but prior to this list, one of the only movies that was on my favorite movies list was the Back to the Future series.
Really?
Yeah,
There
it's
we go.
the only like because there's so much detail
Mm-hmm.
and I love that. So
Yeah.
and it. Even though I guess you could say it does have the happy ending, everything else about its storytelling and everything else about every aspect of the movie is so completely different from other movies that I like it. It doesn't feel cliche, and that's just it fits that. For me.
So for you, mostly, it seems like it doesn't matter if the movie has a happy ending or not. It's more so just how the movie is made.
If I can see the ending coming from the first 45 minutes of the movie, I am gonna hate the movie, right?
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. Is
Okay.
that when the main character dies at the end, if I saw it coming, I mean, at
It's
least it's
not gonna
not the
have as
cliche
much-
happy ending,
Right.
So I still kind of like it because I'm
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, visceral fight the man or something,
you.
or yeah, something like that. But like, it's really like whenever I'm sitting in a movie and I'm 15 minutes in and I'm like, oh, these two are going to get married and that dude's going to die and everyone's going to live happily ever after. And then it all comes to pass. That's what makes me sad. Because I'm just like, ugh. Like, but whenever I get in a movie and I'm like, wait, we're introducing paradoxes and Back to the Future.
What?
Oh, I'm in now. I don't care
too much.
what happens. It's just like, oh, we're introducing like timelines and like things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be awesome.
Anyways.
Right. So
Okay, so I
that's
guess
really
at some
what it
point,
comes down to
at some
with
point we
movies.
need to probably put those on the list, the
Oh, yeah.
Back to the Future movies, even though, like I said
Telling you,
before,
man.
you said you guys have both said we have to watch all 3 of them.
And make
Yeah,
them
like-
one podcast. We could totally make them one podcast. At
We can-
worst, a
we can-
particularly long.
We
podcast.
can. I was gonna say we can cram them all into 45 minutes.
And yeah, no, at least into one. Like if it had to be a long podcast, we can at least make it an hour-long podcast.
could
We
save
we
it
never
until
really make it
don't
above
have the
45
time
minutes on
constraint
average.
to worry about, right?
What's that?
We could save it for when we don't have the time constraint to worry about, right?
I guess, yeah, but like that's the thing is it. We'll talk about this logistically afterwards.
I'm just
Anyways,
saying, we could totally
Anyways,
make it an
behind
hour.
the scenes.
Anyways, thank
Whatever,
you
I'm
all
just
for
saying we could
listening.
totally do it.
I really appreciate all of it. If you're looking for any of our links, we have a link tree in the description of the podcast and also the YouTube videos. You can find all of it there, all of our social media links, and where you can find all of our podcast stuff and whatnot. Like I mentioned, we have a YouTube channel, so if you're looking for just another way to get the podcast, that was how you can do it. But until
Dare ye
next,
enter the forbidden lands.
yes,
Yeah, what he said.
we're gonna sit down and discuss what we're gonna watch next. But until next week, bye bye.
See ya.
Yeah.